Jade Gibson is a singer and songwriter from Victoria who was a grand finalist in Toyota Star Maker in 2022, and she has also played several large festivals other than Tamworth. In 2019, her debut EP, The Great Unknown, went to #1 on the iTunes country chart, and she has released several successful singles since. She has a brand new single called Down the Road, which is an infectious country pop number, and I'm very keen to talk to her about it. Hello, Jade.
Hello, Sophie. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm very excited to have you here to talk about your music. I'll go straight to the new single. What was the inspiration behind Down the Road?
My inspiration, very honestly, is my partner of 5 years. It's his first time getting a song, and I feel like I was well overdue for a love song. We're actually, I'm in our house that we've built together. We've been together for a long time, and I think what was really funny about our relationship is he grew up 20 minutes down the road from me, and we had no idea who each other were, which is really strange in regional Victoria. We'd never met. And when we finally did, I was, for once in my life, not ready for a relationship at all. I'd just kind of come out of a couple. I was 21.
I know what you mean.
And yeah, we found each other and everything just made sense all of a sudden. And it was like all of the heartbreak I went through led me up to be ready for a relationship with him. And so I wanted to write a song of that feeling. Almost, it's a bit ironic, the saying, it always comes when you least expect it. It truly does feel that way in the most, corny of ways. And yeah, and so I wanted to write a song being like, you know what, all that heartache, and he was just down the road, like how ironic. So that's the inspiration for this track.
It's not corny, it's lovely because it's heartfelt and authentic.
Oh, and it's real and it's very honest. And I think that's been something that I've really continued with in my career is I always write from a very honest point of view, sometimes a little bit too honest. My writers are like, Jade, it doesn't need to be down to the T. But I really do love just saying what I feel and where I'm at, and bringing people into my story that way.
So you said it's the first song that's about him. Has he been hinting gently that he might like a song at any point?
No, in fact, the complete opposite. He is definitely the calm to my storm. And I think he was very happy to sit back and be out of the artist narration for a while. But I felt like it was very well overdue because he has been, like I said, the calm to my storm and very much a rock in my life. He somehow has been around since pretty much the release of my debut EP, and he's been on this whole journey with me. So I thought it was time he got a song.
So you worked on the song with MSquared, which is Michael DeLaurentis and Michael Painter. Was it the first time you've worked with them?
No, this is our fourth song together, and I think we're going on our second year, working together. So yeah, we've ever since we started working together, it just clicked in, and everything has been, amazing ever since then. Ever since Star Maker and MSquared, it all just really started moving for me, which is amazing.
So did that happen around the same time, Star Maker
Yeah.
and working with them? Okay.
Yeah, it did actually. I was already on the hunt for a kind of a new producer. I'd been recording a lot in Nashville, but obviously with the pandemic, things had kind of gone up shit creek there. And I was exploring another option in Australia. Also, I kind of knew that my career was going to become more based in Australia. That's what I wanted. I'm an Aussie girl at heart, and as much as I love Nashville and a bit of my heart will always be there, I think that my career is here, my life is here. And so I wanted to find a producer here. And obviously, MSquared, not only are they only a couple of hours down the road from me, just in Melbourne, but they were also doing a bit more of that modern take on country, which was something I was really interested in at the time. And in the last couple of years, coincidentally, has become really, really popular here in Australia as well. So it's all just been very perfect timing.
Because you had spent a fair bit of time in Nashville, from what I understand, at least a year writing and recording. Yeah.
Yeah. I moved over at 19, which is just so crazy. I didn't know anyone, but I was a very determined kid. And so I moved over there on my own, and I lived there for about a year and a half before the world shut down due to the pandemic.
Right. So that's what brought you home.
Yeah, essentially, I had a full year there and I was studying. That's how I was able to stay. And then that's when I sort of found my voice, especially my writing voice. I'd never written a song until I moved to Nashville, but that was on my bucket list. It was kind of like, okay, go to Nashville and learn how to write. And so when that year was up, I wanted to keep on kind of coming back and forth from Australia to Nashville and keep on continuing like that artistry that I was on. So I did come back from a trip in, I think, November of 2019, and then in March 2020 we shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about the number of life decisions that were created by that pandemic for artists in particular, I think, because you were also adversely affected by not being able to play shows, and even things like, oh, maybe you would have gone back to Nashville and you really had to, a lot of you, rethink any plans you'd had and any direction you were taking.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, who knows where I would have been if the world had never shut down. Who knows? I might not have even been with my partner. I might have run away and been skittish, but it forced a bit of calm in my life that naturally I didn't have. I've always been a very big personality, running on all emotions, and I was only 21 when the world shut down, so I was still super duper young. But I think more than anything, it gave me a bit of gratitude. I'd been gigging well, I was 21 and I started singing in pubs when I was 14. So I'd been doing it for a long time and I was getting a little bit feeling caged within what was going on. And so having a bit of a forced break, as much as it was terrible for my bank account, it was great for me to reflect on why I was doing what I was doing with my career.
Okay. So you said you were gigging from the age of 14. Obviously, by that stage, you had quite a lot of skills developed. So at what age did you begin singing, if singing was the first thing, or was there an instrument before that?
No, it was, I would actually even say before singing, it was performing.
Right. Okay.
I think that that's definitely always been my strong suit. I think as an artist, I mean, in anything in your career, if you've got a career, you kind of know where your strengths and weaknesses are. My strength was always in the performance element, and connecting with music. I've always been a very emotional person. But to be honest, I wasn't a strong singer when I was younger. I went into some pretty serious vocal training when I was around 15 because I knew this is what I wanted to do, but my voice was still very actually out of control, to be honest. I had a lot of pitch issues. And as of the age of 15, I got sent down on the train every second week to Melbourne, and I'd go and see my singing teacher. And she taught me how to listen with my ears and sing technically well, because I couldn't do that. But what I always was a very strong personality on stage and very good with connecting to audiences and music. I remember when I was learning how to sing, essentially, my music teacher used to make me sing a single note or word instead of the lyrics to the song, because I would connect way too much to the lyrics. If I was singing a Fleetwood Mac song or an Adele song, I would connect in with the lyrics so much that my pitch would go all over the place. And she was like, wait, pull it back in. So I definitely think that's been my strong suit. And obviously I kind of had to backpedal a second to work on my technical craft. And then I was able to lean back into what makes me special, and that is my emotional and honest side, and my big personality.
Yeah, that's a very interesting path, because a lot of artists, I guess, would come from a background saying, oh, yes, I could sing from a young age or whatever it is, or I've been playing guitar for however long and music has just always been it. So it's, I suppose, a different way of coming at it, but hard won and possibly more cherished because you put all that work into developing your voice.
Yeah, and that's not to say that I wasn't singing from a young age. I was singing as soon as my body would let me.
All right.
My babysitter, who I think she had me from the age of like 4 to 5, she always says that I used to tell her that I was going to be the best singer in the world. So I knew my path, and it is a strange feeling, I suppose, when I do some introspective thinking, that I've never known anything different. I've never wanted to be anything else. It's truly been my calling, which is even more strange because I'm the first person in my family to follow music, and especially country music. My parents have no idea where I come from. I was very much raised on Aussie pub rock and pop, like definitely no country.
Yeah, right. So when did you start listening to country music?
Well, I mean, obviously, in contradictory to what I just said about not listening to it, my parents did like Fleetwood Mac and
Okay.
the Chicks. So I always loved them a bit more than I loved everything else. I mean, I mean, some of my other early influences were like Kelly Clarkson, Celine Dion, Delta Goodrem was a big one, and I get compared to Delta a lot. Now that I'm a full-grown artist, I'm almost like just blonde like Delta or Taylor, and we just seem to get thrown into the same basket together. But I mean, Fleetwood Mac's been my favorite band since I heard them when I think I was like 9 years old. My mum gave me a little iPod Nano. I
Yeah.
was getting sent down on the train to see my cousins in Melbourne, and she gave me her iPod Nano and she had Fleetwood Mac on there, and I just fell in love. So I've always loved that rootsier style of music. And then when I started gigging when I was about 14, I would play, my favorite songs at the time, and I would play Fleetwood Mac and the Chicks, and Taylor Swift was getting big when I was in my tweens. And I remember people would come up to me and speak to me at the end of gigs and say, you're doing real well, the niceties. And then they would say, but that country music, when you sing country music, it's something seems right there.
Oh,
And I was
okay.
like,
Interesting.
oh, what's country music? I didn't really know.
Mhm.
I think I saw country music as that real Australiana or that
Mm.
Western style music. And I wasn't extremely interested in that, especially with a pop and rock background.
Mhm.
And then I remember one of my favorite movies when I was younger was the Hannah Montana movie with Miley Cyrus. And they had a band on there, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Sophie, Rascal Flatts. They had a little cameo on the movie. And I remember Gary, who's the lead vocalist of Rascal Flatts, sang Bless the Broken Road on the movie. And I was like, that is something else. That is really something else. And I looked up, Rascal Flatts, and then I went down a rabbit hole and I found Carrie Underwood and I found Miranda Lambert and Kelsey Ballerini and Dan and Shay. And I was like, oh, what is this I've stumbled upon? And it was that Nashville country sound.
Mm.
So from then I started watching Nashville, the soap opera, and I was like, I'm going there. I am going. And that's what I did. I'm
Oh,
one of these people that it's all in or nothing,
okay.
which is a good and a bad thing. And I think when I decided I was not only going to do country music, but I was going to go to Nashville, there was no one stopping me at all.
Well, and clearly they didn't because you made it.
Yes, I did. I did. A little kid from Wangaratta, and I tell you what, some people told me that it wasn't possible, and anything truly is possible if you work hard enough.
I think people who say things like that just have limited imaginations.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Especially, 19 years old, I moved over to Nashville not knowing a single person.
Mm.
And if you know anything about trying to go to the States, visas are
Mhm.
horrendous things to
Mhm.
try and get. Um, but I just did a little bit of research. I'm not an extremely switched on. I'm smart enough, and I'm definitely street smart, but I'm not book smart. And for me to figure out that I could get there and stay there a whole year and be relatively safe within like a schooling environment on a
Mm.
J1, which is the student visa. I mean, you can figure out anything if you're half switched together. So I went, I was off.
Yeah. And you talking about performance in your background, semi answers a question I had for you, which was to do with you playing rodeos and BNS balls. Because I always think as a performer, they must be some tough crowds to wrangle. Yeah, particularly BNS balls, probably because at a certain point in the evening, everything's a little bit messy. But clearly you relish those experiences of playing to big crowds because you've also played quite a few festivals.
Oh yeah, I think that BNS's really took me from a pub kind of country singer who was, I was already on my way. I knew I was going to go to Nashville, but doing the BNS's took me to another level. It gave me the opportunity to get in front of big crowds and practice, essentially, and also grow a bit of a thick skin as well. Obviously they are very rowdy. And you were saying in the late evening they get rowdy. No, no, no. They are rowdy from 9 a.m. when you walk through the gates.
Right.
But it's a funny story how I actually started doing BNSs, and sometimes people do ask me because I think I've done about 26.
Oh, wow.
And I just turned 26 years old myself. So obviously I started when I was 18, and there was like 3 years of the pandemic there and 1 year where I lived in Nashville. So to do that many BNSs, if you do the math, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
In a small time. But I was playing a little pub gig when I was 17. I must have been about 17 and a half, out in a small town called Jerilderie, which is probably about an hour and a half away from where I am in New South Wales. And it was a terrible night. I actually really do remember this gig. It was in this crap pub and there was barely anyone there. And a couple of people there were drunk and they were like swinging off my speakers, and I was fretting, thinking that they were going to pull them over. But there was this one table at the back, a few people, you know, a couple of middle-aged kind of men and women, and they were sitting around and they stayed all night. And then at the end of the night, they kind of come up to me and my dad, who used to come to all my gigs with me, and they were like, "Oh, she was great. You know, I'm up there. No one's in there. I'm busting out Carrie Underwood. I'm busting out Taylor Swift." And they were like, "Oh, has she ever done a BNS?" And I didn't even know what they were. Like, why would I? And my dad was like, "Oh, no, 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 she hasn't. She's actually not even 18 yet." And they were like, "Oh, well, when is she 18? He was like, "Oh, in a few months." They said, "Oh, well, we're on the board for the Jerilderie BNS and we would love to have her." And I was like, "What?" So I remember a few months after I turned 18, I rocked up to this BNS ball and it was wild, you know, biggest crowd I'd ever played to, probably about 500 at that time.
Wow. Okay.
And just ready to go. And I, like you were asking before about instruments, I didn't really start playing guitar properly until the pandemic. So I was backing tracks. It was just me, nothing else on that stage. And I just went for it. And I did that for years and years until I got my band in the pandemic. And that was a very brutal way to kind of cut your teeth on that performing scene.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
nothing could have got me more prepared for festivals than BNSs. And I still play BNSs to this day. I've got one in a couple of weeks' time.
All right. Do you have to take protective armor with you when you go on stage? Sometimes I think it might be that messy.
I know, truly. My lead guitarist, he's done a few with me now. He's got this really cool big orange amp, and I think it's had a blue food dye stain down it for about 2 years. And every time I look at it, I just go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry." You just gotta, it's a bit part and parcel with it all, really. I've become a bit numb to it, but every now and again, I take someone who's new to the scene and I get to kind of experience what that feeling is like again, seeing just the antics of a BNS. I suppose when you're 18, everything's new and everything's a bit wild. So I was exposed to it pretty young. And I mean, I'm also just a country girl too, so I really take anything in my stride. I was singing in pubs at 14, so singing at BNSs at 18 didn't feel that weird.
I bet. Now, you mentioned that you got your band during the pandemic. Was that just a process of thinking once you emerged, because you're in Victoria, so that was a fairly strict series of lockdowns, that you would need a band after that, or you wanted a band after that?
Yeah, for sure. I actually started dipping my toe into the live music element. I mean, I was feeling sick of the beat, you know, the backing track thing. I felt constrained within, you know, as much as the track could do. I wanted to get more creative with it. And also when I recorded my EP, I really didn't want that happening to a backing track when I was performing that live. So I hired my lead guitarist, who's been working with me for 5 years now. And a couple of years in, when the pandemic happened, I sort of said to him, "Look, this could be a really good time to start looking for a band and kind of forming one, and we can do gigs here and there." And luckily enough, my guitarist is really involved in a country music, no, just in the music scene, should I say, in Albury-Wodonga, which is kind of the bigger regional area near me. And his brother is a great drummer, and he knew another bass player, and we kind of formed a band. And now we play BNSs and weddings and festivals. We played Denny last year together. We played Man from Snowy River a couple of years ago. And yeah, we're just going from strength to strength. It's great when I get to play with the band.
Now I'm going to bring us back to Down the Road, which is your new single, because there is a music video that you have made, and it stars one Kyle Shilling who plays Marley in Home and Away. Now he will be familiar to some people, in fact, several people, I'm sure. How did you come to have him in the video?
Oh my gosh. Well, my amazing videographer and friend and fellow artist, Jake Davey, we've been collaborating together on a few of these singles in the last couple of years. And when we were putting together kind of ideas for the music video for Down the Road, I said to him, look, I haven't done like an acting type music video in a while. And this is my first love song in a long time as well. And I just knew that my gentle giant introvert of a boyfriend, there was no way I was getting him on a music video, and I wouldn't put him through that pain. And I thought it'd be cool to kind of do a bit of a love scene music video. And I kind of said to Jake, hey, do you know anyone who would be up for it, and also, you know, be interested in hanging out on a country music set for a day? And he actually knew Kyle because I believe they grew up together up near Taree. And I remember he was like to me, oh, I actually have a mate who's on Home and Away. And I was like, oh, surely not. Anyway, here comes Kyle, and he was nothing but a legend. We shot it all in one day, and it was a huge day. It was my first time in a long time acting. And I think the last time I acted with a male kind of actor in a music video, I didn't have a boyfriend then. So it was a lot easier. But now, you know, I've got a long-term boyfriend, and it was very awkward for me, but Kyle made me feel just so comfortable all day. He was so great. And you're right, even when we're on set all day, he was getting noticed all over the set. People were coming over. There was this little girl at one point who was like, Marley, can we get a picture? You know, they're calling him by his like Home and Away name. So it was very, very sweet. And the music video is stunning. We filmed it at this beautiful location. I've actually never seen anything like it in Australia. It's called Camden Valley Inn. I don't know if you've ever been there. You were saying you're from Sydney, and it's obviously down in Camden. And it's almost looks like an English pub, but it's really nice, and it has like accommodation, and it backs onto like a big open field, so it's still got that real country feel. And we were just able to shoot the whole music video on set there, and it was just very, very visually stunning. So the music video, it's beautiful. I can't wait for it to come out.
Has Jake made videos for you before?
Yeah, he has. We actually did my last two singles. They were very what we call visualizers. I mean, they're still a music video, but they're kind of like one location. They're not numerous scenes. And so we've done that before, but this was our first time working together on a bit more of, you know, a scripty type of thing. It was a massive day. I think that I got up, should I say. Jake didn't have to do his hair and makeup. I did. So I think I had to get up at 4 a.m. And I don't think we got to bed until 11 p.m., but we all got it done in one day. And it's stunning. So it's great. And it was so easy because obviously Jake's one of my great mates. And then Kyle was just beautiful to work with. He was fantastic. So we had an awesome day.
Well, at the time I'm speaking to you, it hasn't been released yet, so I haven't seen it, but hopefully, yeah, it'll be released in the next few days after the single's released.
Sure will be. No, it sure will be. I can't say too much, but it's very soon, so you won't have to wait long.
Now, you've been releasing singles really steadily since the EP was released, and also one of those singles, Country Mile, was chosen as the promotional song for the 2023 Tamworth Country Music Festival, which is very exciting. So there's clearly you're thinking you're timing these singles pretty steadily. Does that mean you have a few more lined up?
Oh yeah, at the moment, it's been the first time in a few years that my train isn't just going full steam ahead in one direction. I can get a bit like that. But at the moment, I'm kind of going back into a writing bubble, which I haven't been in years, probably since I lived in Nashville, to be honest. I'm experimenting with where I want to go with my music. I think that at the moment I'm listening to lots more different genres. I'm really loving folk again, and that folk pop style that's a bit in at the moment with like Noah Khan, and I'm loving the new Maggie Rogers album. And so I'm actually gone into a bit of a writing bubble, which is really exciting. But it does mean that I don't have any studio time booked at the moment. I would love to get another single out before the end of the year, and that is the goal. But I'm just kind of seeing what I write at the moment, which is a bit of a scary but equally as exciting place to be in as an artist.
Do you tend to follow your instinct when you're writing, so that as ideas come to you, you may let them hang around for a while and then think, okay, this one is really pressing on me, I'm going with that, I'm following my instinct with that?
Yeah, so there's been songs where I record them straight away. I mean, when I wrote Country Mile, I knew straight away that's my next song. That's a great song. But then there's been other songs like a 2020 release that I had was called Till We Fly. And I think we'd written that in 2018 in Nashville. And I wrote it and I thought, that's a good song, but I'm just going to sit on it. I'm not too sure when its time is. And then sometimes they just rear their heads and they feel right. So I think I go with my gut a lot, where I'm at in my life personally, and then what feels good at the time in the industry as well. I kind of try and read a little bit what people are enjoying, as well as what I'm feeling. So yeah, there's no real method to the madness, unfortunately.
Well, except I think going with feeling is a really good instrument, actually, because as an artist, you are, particularly as a performing artist, you are interacting with audience, and therefore you're picking up cues of what people are interested in. You're in fact getting that direct feedback because they're right in front of you.
Oh, for sure. And even with Down the Road, my new single, I loved it as soon as we wrote it in Nashville, which was last year. And I brought it home with me and I played it probably for 2 or 3 months at my gigs to kind of gain a bit of a reception of how people were feeling about it. And then I decided to take it to MSquared and said, look, boys, I've been playing this out. People are liking it. I feel good about it. I feel good about where I'm at in my life to bring it out. And I had a couple of other options as well, but as soon as I played that for them, they were like, yep, that's it. Let's do that. So that's kind of how I made that decision to record, Down the Road.
Well, Down the Road is out now, and a fantastic song, very catchy. It will turn into an earworm for everyone who hears it. And then, of course, the video will be released in due course. And Jade Gibson, I look forward to finding out what you do next. And in the meantime, thank you very much for speaking to me.
Thank you so much for having me.